Cristiano Ronaldo is not done with Portugal. Nowhere close, in fact. He just made an announcement that has shocked everyone and rewritten what people thought would happen. Just days ago, the world thought that Ronaldo would not just be retiring from international football, but close to drawing his career to a close fully after the World Cup. People saw a 41-year-old man and called him old, declining, and a bug in his Portugal side, holding them back from greatness. Everyone was prepared for a retirement announcement soon, but Ronaldo looked the people who are doubting him in the eyes and said, "This will definitely not be my last World Cup." No ways, right? Just think about it for a second. This is the man who was nearly benched out of existence at the last World Cup in 2022. The man who broke down in tears at Euro 2024. Looking like a shadow of himself. The man whose club performances in Saudi Arabia were no longer generating awe but sympathy. That man is not retiring from international football after 2026. That man is targeting 2030. That is the story today. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what Ronaldo said, why it matters, and whether Portugal should be celebrating or panicking. To understand where we are right now, you have to go back to Qatar 2022 and the single most humiliating subplot of Cristiano Ronaldo's career. Portugal had just beaten Switzerland in the round of 16, but that victory came with a knife in the back. Manager Fernando Santos had dropped Ronaldo from the starting 11. He brought him on as a substitute, and for the first time in 2 decades, the world watched Ronaldo stand on the touchline while his teammates played without him, and play better because of it. Gonçalo Ramos scored a hat-trick. The heir apparent had announced himself, and Ronaldo's role was suddenly very much in question. Then Morocco knocked Portugal out in the quarterfinals. Ronaldo came off the bench late, couldn't change the game, and was caught on camera crying as he walked down the tunnel. It was a gut punch of an image. The greatest goal scorer in the history of men's international football, weeping alone, with no World Cup winners' medal and no clear path forward. That was the beginning of the conversation the world started having out loud. When does he go? For the 2 years that followed Qatar, the evidence kept stacking up. Ronaldo had moved to Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia, and while he continued to score goals, because that is simply what Ronaldo does, the games themselves told a different story. The explosive pace was gone. The fearless one-on-ones were gone. What remained was a calculating, positional striker who relied on instinct, experience, and the technical gap between himself and defenders in a league that, let's be honest, is not the Champions League. There were moments of brilliance, yes. There are always moments of brilliance with Ronaldo, but the trajectory was undeniably downward. The elite version of Cristiano Ronaldo had left the building years earlier. What was operating now was a premium version of a good striker, not the apex predator that had terrorized defenses across Europe for 15 years. Then came Euro 2024, and if Qatar had started the conversation, the Euros almost ended it. Portugal arrived in Germany as genuine contenders. They had talent throughout the squad. Vitinha, Bernardo Silva, Rafael León, Pedro Neto, a generation of players capable of winning a major tournament. And then Ronaldo happened. Not in a good way. He missed chances. He had emotional outbursts. He complained to referees. He celebrated one goal wildly, only for it to be ruled out, a moment that turned into a viral loop of unintentional comedy. He looked like a man fighting for relevance rather than fighting for a trophy. And Portugal stumbled out of the tournament against France, with Ronaldo's penalty miss in the shootout as the final devastating punctuation mark. The criticism that followed was the loudest it had ever been. Pundits who had always given him the benefit of the doubt were no longer holding back. Was Ronaldo the reason Portugal kept coming up short? Was his presence in the squad, his guaranteed starting spot, his untouchable status, his emotional weight on the group actively preventing a new generation of Portuguese footballers from fulfilling their potential? For many fans, this was no longer an if, it was a when. When does he announce this is his last World Cup? When does he finally step aside? Here is where things get complicated, because while the public was ready to move on, the man inside the dressing room was not. And neither, as it turned out, was the man in the dugout. Roberto Martinez had taken over as Portugal manager, and from day one he made his position clear. Ronaldo was not just welcome, Ronaldo was central. Martinez believed there was still something left in him. He believed the captain's armband was Ronaldo's to carry, and perhaps more importantly, he believed that the right system could get the best out of an aging legend, while also allowing the next generation to grow alongside him. What happened next was not something most people saw coming. Portugal went on a remarkable run in the Nations League and made the Final Four. And at the heart of it was Ronaldo. Not a ceremonial Ronaldo, a Ronaldo who delivered in the moments that mattered. Against Spain, in matches with genuine stakes and genuine pressure, Ronaldo scored crucial goals. Goals that repaid Martinez's faith in the most direct way possible. Goals that reminded a doubting world that at 41 years old, with all the decline factored in, Cristiano Ronaldo can still walk into a tournament, step up in a big moment, and put the ball in the net. It did not erase the concerns, it did not suddenly reverse the physical decline, but it reframed the conversation, and it gave Ronaldo the platform he needed to make his announcement. Now this is the part you clicked for. Ronaldo confirmed it himself. This World Cup in 2026 is not his last. He is not retiring from international football after the United States tournament. And he went further than that. He suggested that if he is still playing football in 4 years, which in his own words is almost guaranteed, then there is no reason he should not be available for Portugal at the 2030 World Cup. Now is not his last, he said. Maybe 2030 will be the one. Let me say that again. Cristiano Ronaldo, who will be 41 years old at the 2026 World Cup in America, is talking about playing at the 2030 World Cup at 45 years old. In Spain, Portugal, and Morocco as co-hosts, he believes in his own body. He believes in his conditioning program, his lifestyle, and his competitive drive. And while the world may be writing his retirement speech, he is not interested in reading it. Whether you believe that or not is almost beside the point. What matters right now is that he believes it, and his manager believes it too. Here is where we actually are. Ronaldo will lead Portugal into the 2026 World Cup. He will carry the captain's armband. He will start matches. He will be the face of the tournament for Portugal. And all of that will happen at 41 years of age. The physical decline is real and it is visible. When you watch Ronaldo play today, you can see it without needing a stat sheet. The reactions are a fraction slower. The pressing is minimal to non-existent. He holds positions rather than creating them. He waits for the ball rather than hunting for it. He is no longer a footballer who makes things happen through movement. He is one who makes things happen through precision, positioning, and a finishing ability that still ranks among the best in the world. But here is the thing about relying on an aging striker at a World Cup. Margins are thin, and patience runs out fast. If Ronaldo goes 3 games without a goal in the group stage, the conversation will not stay quiet for long. The pressure on that Portugal team will be enormous, and the uncomfortable question, whether he is helping or hurting, will come back with full force. There is a version of this where it works, where Ronaldo scores at a crucial moment, carries the team through to the knockout stages, and the doubters are silenced again. But there is another version where Portugal have the talent to go deep in a World Cup, and Ronaldo's presence becomes the ceiling rather than the floor. Where younger, fresher players who could be making those runs, taking those risks, playing with that freedom, are instead deferring to a legend. A legend they love, but a legend whose best days are behind him. Step back and look at the full scope of what is happening here. You have a 41-year-old footballer not just playing at a World Cup, but planning for the one after it. You have a Portuguese federation and a national manager fully committed to building around him. You have a generation of genuinely world-class Portuguese talent that has yet to win a major trophy, partly because the Ronaldo era has always cast such a long shadow. And you have a fan base that is increasingly split between those who believe the captain deserves every last opportunity and those who quietly wonder whether Portugal might finally lift the World Cup the year after he leaves. This is not just about Ronaldo's ego, though that is always part of the story. This is about identity. Portugal's identity as a football nation has been so deeply intertwined with him for 2 decades that the question of who they are without him is genuinely uncharted territory. And the further he pushes back that moment of reckoning, the longer that question goes unanswered. The Nations League run gave him the perfect script to push back against the doubters. But a Nations League is not a World Cup. The scrutiny in the summer of 2026, in stadiums across America, in front of a global audience of hundreds of millions, that is a different test entirely. That is the story no one fully expected to be telling. Not Ronaldo hanging up his boots, not Ronaldo going quietly, but Ronaldo at 41, doubling down. Looking at the end and refusing to walk towards it. Whether 2026 becomes the farewell tour that finally ends in glory, or the chapter that complicates his legacy, one more time, that story is still being written. What we know is this: Portugal's greatest player is not finished. He said so himself. And for better or for worse, the world will be watching every single minute of it. And if he is right, if he is somehow still standing in 2030, pulling on that jersey again at 45 years old, then every single person who told him it was over will have to explain themselves. Again.